Good day, songwriters. Stanton West here, saying what you hear, keeping it clear. We're here to write songs all night long, into the dawn, and maybe right wrongs. Thanks for tuning in to another Songwriter's Masterclass. Today we will cover lyrics, rhyming, wordplay, and editing. They will help make your songs more compelling and therefore make you a better songwriter. Writing a song is a craft, like cooking a fine meal. There are logical steps you can take to create something that tastes good. Step by step, follow the musical recipe. Lyrics and music are the main ingredient in your audio hot dish. Rhyming is the pepper, and wordplay is the paprika. Editing is your taste buds, tasting it to make sure it tastes good before you serve it up. To begin, I have a couple of rhetorical questions for you. First, the age-old question of every songwriter. What comes first, the lyrics or the music? Second question. What is the difference between a poet and a lyricist? Everyone has a different approach, and what will work well for one lyricist will not necessarily work for another. Some people can write a whole song in 5 minutes. For some people, it could take months. The main thing to remember is that with any other art form, including songwriting, there is no right or wrong way to do it. To get started, I will offer a few ideas for writing lyrics. Here we go. Try to have a clear idea of what your song is about. You should be able to sum it up, the entire essence of the song, in one sentence. Analyze other songs. Try to pick out the differences in lyrics between your favorite songs and your own, and apply any lyrical techniques that you learn about and like to your own work. Make sure the song has a clear structure and a progression. This is particularly important in narrative songs. A quick test to see if your song makes sense is to read through it from start to finish, asking yourself, does this make sense? Use context. Introducing a song prepares people for what they should listen for. So an introduction is always helpful. Be sure to use perspective. For example, a classic songwriting trick is to describe an event in the first verse and add perspective by describing how it affected you or made you feel in the second verse. Make sure you practice. Lyric writing is a skill that can be learned and improved upon, just like any other skill. And don't be disheartened if your lyrics aren't perfect on the first draft. Many professional writers will rewrite a song or song lyrics dozens of times before they are happy with it. Editing is part of the process. Be sure you are persistent. More often than not, songs aren't just born, they're created and sculpted. Don't expect a song to arrive fully formed. They sometimes take time, and you'll need to work on them. If you can't quite figure out how to say what you want with a particular line, jot down the gist of it, or the gist of the idea, and move on to another part of the song, and then come back later and see if something comes to you. When working on choruses, they require a different approach to verses. So a common trick is to write the setup during the verse and the emotional payoff in the chorus. You can try experimenting with rhyme within a line. A line can have its own rhythmic bounce and still fit in an overall rhyming scheme. So a rhyme within a rhyme. Contrasting happy and positive with the sad and downbeat within a song can be very powerful. Context is everything. A joyous chorus after a more solemn verse can make the chorus seem even more uplifting. The band Modest Mouse, I feel like, does a great job of this. Don't use an excess of adjectives or descriptive words. While they are clearly essential to a songwriter in songwriting, adding too many can make a lyric less concise. So sometimes less is more. Be clear and consistent. Listeners often miss a word or a line or three. Don't rely on just one small line to put the whole song into context. You can experiment with the attitude of a song. Songs can be humble, arrogant, hopeful, somber, aggressive, and many other moods. Creative droughts can often be tackled by radically changing the outlook of your lyrical moods. So experiment. If possible, avoid writing filler lines in order to make rhymes work. Don't just write a line that rhymes that doesn't make sense and doesn't help the story. It's fine to use filler when mapping out the structure of a song, but again, less is more. Songs don't always have to be written using you or I. Lyrics with plural pronouns such as we and they, for example, can give a very different feel to a song. Avoid using too many different pronouns in the same song, though, as it could be confusing as to who is who. Don't use too many words. Cramming a line full of words where they clearly won't fit may cause each word to lose its impact. Less is more, again, and sometimes saying the gist of what you mean is enough. I once tried to fit the word discombobulated into a song, and I made it work, although I'm not sure if I should have. Take the sound of a word as well as the meaning of the word into account when writing. And you don't want to feel that using imagery will make your lyrics too arty or flowery. Used well, it can evoke emotions or moods that can't be created by using blunt description alone. Being abstract allows the listener to use their own imagination and personalize the song. On the other hand, be careful when using the emotional abstract. Sometimes it's better to convey an emotion rather than simply stating it. And you can experiment with tense, past tense, future tense. It can be interesting to write about the past, present, and future, sometimes even all within the same song. Be cautious when using clever or overly elaborate language. You don't want your listener to feel dumb for not knowing what a word means. Consider the rhyming scheme when you're writing your lyrics. So, you can also describe a picture. Just grab a picture, because as they say, a picture tells 1,000 words. On to rhyme. To rhyme or not to rhyme. Here's the first rhyme I ever wrote when I was 9 years old. My name is Stanton and I like to skate. I like skiing and soccer's great. Everybody knows I like to date, but on my allowance I can't pay the rate. So if you want to make me happy, here's what you do. Give me some change and I'll take out you. Rhyme. Not rhyming is a choice. But to me, it just sounds like talking if you're not rhyming. The only time I like to not rhyme is if I'm writing haikus. There are many clever ways to rhyme without falling into the roses are red trap. There are essentially two types of different rhymes. There are the true rhymes, like grime, dime, slime, prime, mime, and time. Those are all one-syllable rhymes. And then there are what they call near rhymes. They're imperfect. They don't actually rhyme, but they work, like tough, love, much, and hushed. So they sound similar, but they're not exact rhymes. Or, like I said, true rhymes. A near rhyme are words that don't technically rhyme, but they're in the same phonetic family. So here's a phonetic family graph, and I will have this available for printing because it could take a little time to explore. So there's plosives, and they explode out of the mouth, like ba and da and ga. And then there's fricatives, and they work from using friction of the teeth and tongue and lips, like va and sh and zzz. And then you have nasal resonant sounds like and ing. Have you ever noticed that you can sing vowels? A, E, oo. But consonants can't really be sung except for a few awkward exceptions, like or f. Moving on. Rhyming multiple syllables. I love rhymezone.com. It's a great tool. Every songwriter should have that in their songwriting toolbox. It's a great way to help you explore different ways to come up with lyrical content. It's super handy. Like you can take the word laugh and get hundreds of options for multiple syllable words. Like laugh is a one syllable word, so you can have laugh and then staff, or two syllables like giraffe, and they get bigger and bigger. Autograph, time and a half, choreograph. It even goes on to give options for near rhymes as well. Effective rhyming is often about where you stress the syllable. For example, in meditation and separation, you stress the first and last syllables while the two inner syllables are quieter. Other options for rhyming are rhyme placement. You can rhyme a word from the end of a sentence with a word in the middle of the next sentence, or have multiple rhymes within one sentence. Add a quick inner rhyme that is a separate rhyme scheme from your main rhyme scheme. Okay. So, cliche and wordplay. Using cliches, wordplay, figures of speech, common sayings in your songs can really help spice things up and add a sense of familiar to the song. In my song, The River Knows the Route, I say, you come back with your legs between your tail. The common saying, of course, is your tail between your legs. But when you say you come back with your legs between your tail, it adds this sense of familiarity, but it also has my own twist on it. Words with double meaning, a double entendre, can be a fun element to add to a song. For example, the phrase, humanity is trying. It can be thought of humanity as putting in a good effort, or it could mean trying in the sense like testing your patience. I love using wordplay. One of my favorite sentences I ever came up with was this. She went from one too many tutus to two too many tutus. That's 8 variations of the word two in one short sentence. Tongue twisters. Another fun way to play with words is including tongue twisters like Irish wristwatch, or starting as many words as you can with the same letter or letters. For example, Sam said sit, so Sally sat still. Or down, 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 dainty dog. Or the big-bellied bear. Wishy-washy, shiny dish soap and shampoo. Me missed Miss Missy. Meanwhile, Miss Missy missed me. So those are fun. Word lists. A great way to expand your repertoire for ideas is to search word lists by theme on a search engine on the internet. For example, if you are writing a song about animals, you could search a word list for animals and get a list of every animal you can think of. Or search trees and get every kind of tree you could think of. U.S. cities, types of cars. The only limit really is your imagination. Scat. Right? It's scat. It starts with an S and it ends with a T. It comes out of you and it comes out of me. I know what you're thinking, but don't call it that. Let's be scientific and call it scat. If you're looking for a pattern or a rhyme scheme or a melody, it can be helpful to leave words out altogether and just scat. Scatting is using nonsense words and syllables over the top of music. That way your brain can focus on the melody or rhythmical pattern and is free from trying to figure out the words you want to use. Just try it. Once you establish a pattern, you can go back and try to fit in the words. I used to do this in choir class when we were first learning a new song. Instead of saying the words, we would just say, ooh, and we would sing ooh, 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 until we were familiar with the song. Then we would add the words later. This technique helps both sides of your brain learn the song in the way that it's designed to. And as I've talked about before, there are 2 basic components being used in this way when you're crafting your song. You're using your right brain, your analytical mind, and then you're also using your left brain, which is more your creative, intuitive mind. And they're working together in harmony. To swear or not to swear. Swearing in a song is another choice you need to make. If it fits your vibe, then great, do it. I like to think of swearing in a song like using salt in our proverbial song soup. A little salt can make a meal better, but too much salt can ruin a meal. Swearing can also limit your audience and airplay, just like picking a political side in your music can also limit your audience. Like I said, it's a choice that you'll just have to make. Plagiarism. It's okay to imitate or even borrow, but it's not really okay to steal. There's a fine line, and I would encourage you to do what I call take what you like and leave the rest. If you're inspired by something, find a way to put your own unique stamp on it. Sampling sounds is another moral situation that I'll mention, but I'm not really going to go into here. Editing. accessing the organizational mind. Back to our song analogy about cooking our song soup. The lyrics and the music are the main ingredients. Rhyming is the pepper, wordplay is the paprika, and we can add some salty words for some zest. Now think of editing as your taste buds, tasting the soup to make sure it tastes good before you serve it up. Here, we rely on our organizational and our analytical mind to make sure it all makes sense and that all our sled dogs are pulling in the same direction. So here's a few suggestions. Ask yourself these questions whilst editing. Do the number of words or syllables I'm placing in my lines and phrases make it easy for me to sing, or am I just cramming words? Remember, simpler is better. On the contrary, I may need to add words or syllables. Are most of the vowel sounds in my words easy to sing? Remember what I said about singing vowel songs. If you're trying to sing out on a word which has a nasal sound like N, it might be hard. So you might want to switch those words out. Does your song build and get more interesting as it goes through? Does your story make sense? Do the verses support and complement the chorus? Usually the verses set the chorus up, and the chorus is your main idea. Could you add some riffs or other ideas which energize your songs? Oftentimes we get kind of stuck in this monotony of a song. How can you energize it or change it up with some dynamics? Does your song have a hook? We'll talk about hooks in another class. Is there a phrase in your song, in music or lyrics, which never sounds quite right? Or is the rhyme, which however oftentimes you sing it, always sounds a little bit off? How can you fix that? Are you sure that nothing can be changed for the better? Go through each line and make that decision. Many songs are ruined by being overwritten. Are there any words or phrases you can take out without losing something? Is every verse necessary? Is the tune too similar all the way through your song? Remember what I said about dynamics. And like a roller coaster doesn't just go flat when you're riding it. It goes up and down and through tunnels and all around and loop-de-loos. And your song could do the same, and that keeps it interesting. Could you change one of the chords to give the harmony like a lift, as they would call that? Could the accompaniment, wow, that's hard to say, accompaniment work better? Is the rhythm tight? Does the overall texture of the song allow the main message to get through? Does your mood match your lyrical content? Do you ever have any glimpses of silence or dynamics? Have you noted or recorded everything you need to remember the whole song? And lastly, what if the people you wrote, if you play in a band and you wrote the song for a band, what if that band changed? How would the song live on? Would the ones remaining be able to take it forward? Or would new people be able to find new life for it? Oftentimes, I'll play a song solo, and then I'll play it with my band, and then I'll randomly play it with another band, and the song will take on an entirely new life of its own, just by who's playing on it. All right, well, I hope all that was helpful. You might want to go back. I will have those questions available for download, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. And thanks for listening. go write a song.